who has a remarkable career spanning over 37 years in the Indian Air Force. He served as DG of Inspection and Flight Safety. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Next, may I invite on stage Major General A.K. Channan, PVSM SM. He has been closely associated with the Make in India Defense Initiative since its inception in 2014. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Our next panelist is Dr. N Ranjana, a senior scientist with the Defense Research and Development Organization DRDO. Her work focuses on defense reforms, higher defense management, civil military relations, and India's evolving strategic culture. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am, as well. Our next panelist is Mr. Anshuman Tripathi. Sir, may I invite you? We have Anshuman Tripathi, ladies and gentlemen. He is a member of Government of India, Empowered Committee on High-Tech Manufacturing, and former member of National Security Advisor Board. With that, I hand over the mic to General Bhadauria. So over to you.
So, thank you very much, Anjali. And at the very outset, on behalf of Clause and the alternate media, I wish to thank our very eminent panelists for taking time out and being with us today to share their remarks and inputs on the topic emerging technology in quest for defense dominance. Now, before I say anything, Janman has set the stage very well. उन्होंने आप लोगों को जो हमारी इमर्जिंग टेक्नोलॉजीज हैं एंड हाउ दे आर गोइंग टू इम्पैक्ट ऑन द वॉरफेयर उसके बारे में काफ़ी डिटेल में बताया एंड दीज आर द टेक्नोलॉजीज विच आर ऑफ फ्यूचर एंड विच आर ऑलरेडी मेकिंग डिफरेंस ऑन द बैटल फील्ड वेदर इट वाज इन गाजा or a war in Iran. So we have seen how the pagers actually destroyed a lot of targets, how cyber warfare has been used by US even before the war started, and they destroyed some of the missile facilities of Iran using cyber, disabling them, right? So that is the direction in which the technology is taking the warfare. So when we talk about defense dominance, I would rather say that it is the military dominance. So dominance से हम क्या समझते हैं? Dominance से हम समझते हैं कि we should have a decisive superiority over our adversary, right? And to achieve the strategic objective with minimum risk, because war will always have risk, right? So we want to minimize that risk and achieve the strategic dominance. Now, in that, escalation dominance is also very important. जो भी लड़ाई होगी, जो भी वॉरफेयर होगी, आप देख रहे हैं वो शुरुआत होती है धीरे धीरे, एंड एज द एडवर्सरी रिएक्ट्स टू इट, फिर हम उसको और नेक्स्ट लेवल पे ले जाते हैं, लाइक ऑपरेशन सिंदूर, right? It was the dominance of the escalation matrix by India. So पहले हमने उनके टेररिस्ट कैंप को मारा जो कि उनके हार्टलैंड में था, पंजाब में था, which was a huge achievement. आपने पहले वाले सेशन में सुना होगा. The second was we destroyed 9 air bases of Pakistan, including that Noor Khan base. Now, what does it show? It shows the kind of dominance which our Air Force had or our military had. So this is the kind of military dominance which I am talking about. So that has to be achieved for a very decisive victory. Otherwise, victory, you can, both the sides can claim victories. Now, this is what is happening in Iran and US war. So each side is wanting to say what kind of a victory are they having, right? Even Iran will say कि हम एक asymmetric power थे and we withstood the might of US and Israel. Likewise, आपने अफगानिस्तान के फॉरेन मिनिस्टर को सुना होगा कि हमने तो दो दो तीन तीन जो सुपर पावर्स थे उनको हरा दिया है. So the victory is to be seen differently, right? So therefore, one of the finest example in our military history has been 1971 war of Indo-Pakistan. That was total military dominance by India, whether it was Navy, it was Air Force, or it was Army. Now, from then on, and 50 years from then, now the warfare has changed. It is no more the warfare that we saw with Pakistan in 1970. Now it is multi-domain operations. So what does multi-domain operations mean? Air Force, Navy, Army are still relevant, very relevant. But along with that, there are other dimensions which have been added, some of which were talked about by Jalman. The first and the foremost is cyber. With cyber, we can disable a lot of the enemy's um, war fighting capabilities, like what US has done as far as Iran is concerned, the missile facilities and things like that. Space. Space gives you, has made the battlefield very, very transparent. पहले हम लोग फोटोग्राफी एयरक्राफ्ट की लेना मना था या वो now that's all irrelevant. Everything is visible to the enemy. Sitting here, he can see us, right? So that's the kind of visibility that has been provided. And it is possible to take down the enemy's satellites without causing any debris in the outer space. So those kind of technologies have come. So you can deny the satellite communication or the battlefield transparency to, say, China or, say, Pakistan without causing any debris, which is quite a responsible thing to do. Then AI enabled decision making support system. Some of it was talked about, right? With AI, the OODA loop, that means from the time I take the decision and मैं execute करता हूँ उसको, the time is compressed, right? Then we are having uh, AWS, the autonomous weapon systems. All this is coming. Cognitive warfare. If I have to just give you an example, what is being developed, probably it might already be existing with the British Army or the US Army, is that person is thinking and he's putting on a helmet, and this thinking gets translated into a decision, and a weapon can be fired. So imagine the level to which now the technology is taking the warfare, right? But with that, there are certain questions also which are being raised. First is ethical use of this kind of technology. What we saw in Iran, 135 school-going children, the girls were killed. So is that the kind of technology that we want to use in war? We may win the war there, but we may actually lose the cognitive or some other narrative. So that also is as important, right? Uh, the kind of threats that we face, हम सबको पता है, हम लोग बहुत ही diverse kind of threats we are facing, from terrorism to gray zone to full scale to nuclear, and both our adversaries are nuclear power, and we have border issues with them. So those are the kind of threats we are facing. That's why our CDS has said that technological intensive and time compressed force levels we want. And likewise, the Army Chief has also emphasized that we want a innovation driven modernization taking place, right? And let me just end by saying that today, in case you are lacking in technology, then you are having a strategic vulnerability. Also, if you're not having your own technology, then also you are vulnerable, right? And this is being seen in the Ukraine and Russia war. Who's controlling Ukraine? It's the people who are supplying them the weapons, right? So that kind of a vulnerability a country like India cannot have, right? So there are a whole lot of these issues which I'm sure would come out during our discussion from the with the excellent panelists that we have. So what I'm going to do is we are running a bit short of time, so I'll give each panelist about 8 to 10 minutes, and then, in case we have time after that, we'll have some question answers. So I would first request Dr. Ranjana, because she has some other commitment and she may be leaving earlier, for speaking to us on collaboration opportunities for emerging technologies for defense. Now, may I invite Dr. Ranjana?
Good afternoon, all of you. And sorry to have jumped the queue. Nothing intentional, but 4 o'clock I had planned to give somebody else some time. So actually, we have been talking about the all the wars, and I think very nicely General Mann has covered what has been going on recently in the world. It started with 5 years back, the kind of launch first attacks with the help of drones, and drones have become the mainstay. Space technologies have become another mainstay, and cyber technologies have become uh, very, very difficult threats to manage. Now, this has been going on when we were really preparing ourselves for the missiles and the kind of counter missiles and many other technologies. A lot of work had started on autonomy, but they were not deployed. And the deployment takes, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of time of thought process, converting them into real testable or validated systems, and then making it integral part of the deployment. Now, all this has been going on, and it has got accelerated over last 3 years. I don't want to go into those kind of issues because a lot of effort has been taken up by all departments of Ministry of Defense, where DRDO has taken a lot of projects on all these advanced technologies. Now, when we talk about the deployments, which are very well picturized, or even if you are following the Iran-Israel war, the kind of technologies that are going on, if you think the countermeasures have taken a main stage today, you have attack surfaces, but how you are countering it? The 530 drones were intercepted, the missiles were intercepted. So the kind of work is the directed energy weapons is something which is happening very, very aggressively. And if you see, each of these attack vectors need a lot of thought process to be countered using a lot of advanced technologies, which are still not come into the mainstay. Now, I will just highlight certain initiatives which have been taken by the government from 2020 onwards. The long-term directed research, which we have taken up, and about 15 centers of excellence are today, they were initiated in 2022, and they are being placed in all very reputed universities, looking into their expertise as well as the requirement of the DRDO or requirement of the defense. I would say DRDO is following the requirement which defense has been projecting. So we realize that all these defense vectors and their countermeasures will require certain technologies. And I will just name a few which have not been mentioned. So all the defense technologies have been mentioned, but the constituent technologies, we need to collaborate with the whosoever having the expertise in the country, and that needs to be tapped, and that cannot be tapped individually, or one stakeholder cannot work in isolation. So we cannot work on silos if we have to really target all these technologies to be indigenized. So we thought, why not sit with the academia, take certain of these technologies in a very dedicated way, and form the roadmaps so that we feed into the mainstream technologies. So if you ask me, laser technologies, microwave technologies, advanced materials, either it is hypersonic or aero engine technologies, uh, the high temperature technologies, it's not even easy to even test them. Forget about validating and using it in the aero engines. We have been importing most of these materials. uh, the flexible electronics, the flexible solar cells. Now, these are what all our drones are constituted of. We need to reduce their RCS signatures. We reduce to increase their speed, the energy vector. So all these defense systems are have to have energy to actually run. The miniaturization, the deception, the stealth, the kind of coatings that we require, the metamaterials that are required, and these are some things that we thought we will pick up the academia. We have very good strength in our IITs as well as the universities, where the deep research goes on, but that research was not getting translated into the usable defense technologies and to be applied to the platforms or the weapons that we are talking about. So this kind of work, 15 centers of excellence we have taken up, and each one is having 3 to 4 governance mechanisms running, that the complete directed research and the facility and equipment required to run that research to adopt that to the defense have been initiated. And these centers of excellence take up the projects with academia. DRDO scientists participate in that, not just as a participant or a kind of a, they do contribute technically, We offer our test facilities for them to be validated. And after that is mature, the effort is to bring in the industry directly, so that that gets translated into really production oriented technologies. And this is how the collaboration pipeline is being built. The problem statements are generated by DRDO, not just looking into their current projects or the current kind of technologies that we are developing, but what is there in near future and far future. All these taking into the account, you define the problem statements, you find the right talent pool. Now, each project is it has very high value. Not only that we are doing just the technology, the the researchers that are working on these, 5 to 10 researchers have been allocated for each project, who are getting adept at making these technologies in the form that defense is requiring. So they are understanding ground up when they are studying in academia what is the requirement of the defense. So this is one of the offshoot that we are making the kind of a critical mass for the development of advanced technologies for the defense. So these 15 centers of excellence, currently 350 projects running, about uh, at any point of time 200 to 300 crores of work going on in parallel. And what we have done in last 1 year, we have taken almost 12 industries on board, signed an agreement that technology will be directly bridged from academia to the industry. And that's how the collaboration is building. The all the stakeholders are trying to understand each other's language to make it possible. So this is how the entire ecosystem is being built, in a way that now the industry will make some prototypes. Those prototypes will be validated by DRDO, will be characterized by the academia, and if it is succeeding, we are launching into the market and writing to defense, can you consider it as part of your mainstream deployments? And one of them is a new generation bulletproof jacket, which has come from IIT Delhi. We are working very diligently with ISC and IIT Madras for laser based technologies, microwave technologies. Now, we all talk about chips, and we all know there are national missions which are going on semiconductor, AI, quantum. Now, all these missions, DRDO is an integral part of it. We are collaborating with these missions also, so that whatever happening there can be adopted in a very complementary way to take things forward for the defense, because these are dual use technologies, many of them. We are also have started a we have laid down a foundational roadmap for taking up the foundational models for AI. Today, whatever AI we are talking about, it is based on some of the models which have been we have been able to tap in the open source, but the core foundational models for the defense are being worked with the help of the academia. And this is the kind of roadmap we have laid down ourselves to bring in all uh, stakeholders together. In fact, yesterday I was in IIT Roorkee, and we have signed an agreement between the IIT Roorkee as well as the Bengal Engineering Group at the of Indian Army, to work together to bring out a data set which is very much required for us in going forward. So these are the kind of initiatives we are taking up wherever the niche technology, niche data sets, foundational models, and the kind of material constituent technologies required for the defense are being worked out by activating every single stakeholder and making them work together in such a way that it actually reaches the production level to the industry. So some of this, everything is being laid out in our DFTM website on the drdo.gov.in, and the problem statements also have been laid out. And these problem statements definitely are not same as what ADB is launching. They are launching most of the problem statements which are application vectors. We are launching the problem statements which are the application constituent technologies of these applications, which will eventually form this indigenization layer of all the deployable technologies. So primarily the layered approach to indigenization is very important, and I think we are trying, all are understood these layers in a very uh, you know uh, in a very understanding way between all the stakeholders. And many of the And I'm very happy to glad to say that
Spoken about what the latest battlefield is. And dominance today no longer belongs to the side that has the maximum number of platforms. It belongs to the side that sees first, understands faster, decides earlier, and sustains longer under pressure. So let me start first with the changing character of warfare. A lot of speakers have spoken on this changing character of warfare, but I shall confine only the changing character as it applies to land warfare. And to my perception, there are three shifts which have taken place due to emerging technologies in the land warfare. The first one is persistent tactical transparency. The battlefield today is no longer opaque, it is absolutely transparent. Cheap drones, commercial satellite, open source intelligence, and there are hundreds of other sensors which have made the battlefield totally transparent. You take the example of, say, Ukraine. you'll find drone surveillance makes it extremely difficult today to deploy artillery, move armor, or any kind of movement there because of surveillance. You take the example, recent example of Iran, where the persistent surveillance helped the Israelis to pinpoint target at the exact time, at the exact place when they wanted it, to wipe out the complete senior leadership of Iran. This is possible only because of persistent surveillance today. And therefore, the future infantry battalions of ours will have to work under persistent, constant surveillance. Second shift which is taking place is the compression of decision cycles. Decision cycles have collapsed. In Ukraine, a drone operator can detect a vehicle or an armor column, transmit the coordinates, and trigger an artillery shoot all within minutes. So a decision cycle earlier which took hours today takes minutes, if not seconds. And with AI also being put into the decision cycle, I'm sure it will become either autonomous or at least semi-autonomous. The implication is profound, gentlemen. Dominance in land warfare is increasingly being decided at the tactical edge, at the platoon and company level. Technology must therefore empower the soldier, not overwhelm him. And the third shift, as per me, what is happening is the contested and denied environments. Future conflicts, especially in our northern and our western borders, will never take place in benign spectrums, benign environments. GPS will be disrupted, communications will be jammed, networks will be attacked. There's no doubt about it. In other words, battlefield will operate under denial, deception, and disruption. In Ukraine, both the sides, Russia and Ukraine, continuously jam each other's navigation and control signals of the drones. So much so that today fiber-based drones, which cannot be jammed, has become a total norm today. So what does emerging technologies, as the topic says, means for the Indian Army? From the Army's perspective, emerging technologies are not a shopping list. They cluster around few operational priorities. Let me list off these few priorities for you. The first operational priority is AI at the tactical edge intelligence. The battlefield problem today is not lack of information, but information overload. AI must help filter information, fuse various kinds of sensor inputs, and accelerate decision making at the tactical edge. AI will, gentlemen, not replace the commanders, but commanders who use AI effectively will certainly replace those who do not. The second operation priority, as a lot of it has been spoken about it, is drones and counter-drone capability. If a single emerging technology has impacted profoundly the land warfare, it is drones. In Ukraine, inexpensive Ukraine, Red Sea, Houthi, Azerbaijan, Armenia, or any other conflict which is going on, you have seen, inexpensive drones have forced armies to rethink concealment, logistics, and even artillery and armor deployment today. The Indian Army must build both the capabilities, drones as well as counter drones. The third operation priority, what I'll call is resilient networks and electromagnetic dominance. A lot of it was spoken by General Mann also. Future adversaries of ours will attack networks first. Therefore, our emphasis must shift from maximum bandwidth to maximum survivability. I'm a signal officer who has always been saying maximum bandwidth, but today I will say it is maximum survivability. Mesh networks, software defined radios, and edge level data fusion will be essential because in war, resilience beats performance. The next operational priority I want to highlight is predictive logistics. Logistics has always taken a backseat in land warfare. But in the Indian condition, logistics often determines the operational tempo. High altitudes, long supply chains, adverse weather, inhospitable terrain, everything makes sustainments very, very decisive as far as land warfare is concerned. Even in the Iran conflict, you all must have seen that oil installations, ports, desalination plants, all these are being targeted. It clearly demonstrates that sustenance today is part of the battlefield. It is no longer just something to be taken a backseat of. Having discussed some of the technologies that matter, let me now turn to a more uncomfortable but a very, very pertinent question. Are we as Indian Army structurally prepared to absorb the emerging technologies? Technology adoption is not a hardware challenge. It is an institutional problem. Let me outline where the true challenges lies. The first challenge is that we have shifted from platforms to systems. Historically, Indian Army used to induct platforms and then try and integrate these. But recent conflicts all across the world have shown that combat power comes from integrating the various sensors, shooters, and decision makers into networks rather than individual platforms. For example, a drone detecting a target and immediately triggering an artillery shoot is a system of system effect, not a platform effect. The second challenge is absorption capacity. Induction of technology is a very easy thing, but absorbing it into everyday operations is very, very hard. In Ukraine, thousands of drones are effective not because of the technology, it's because soldiers rapidly adapt tactics and software in the field in weeks and days. Technology delivers advantage only when forces learn to use it faster than your adversary. The third challenge we have is designing for denial. Unlike commercial technologies, Indian Army systems must function where communications is jammed, GPS is disrupted, as well as in harsh terrain and extreme weather conditions. The pager attacks, as mentioned earlier against Hezbollah, showed how a simple communication device can become vulnerable. Next challenge of ours is operational sovereignty. Self-reliance is spoken in every other field, but today I think a time has come when self-reliance must be viewed operationally also. Israel's ability to conduct operations at free will against any nation, including Iran or any distant countries also, is because they control the complete stack of technology and intelligence systems. Operational sovereignty for Indian Army will begin when technological dependence ends. Finally, there is a challenge of speed. If technology cycles are measured in months and weeks and procurement cycles in years, then gentlemen, we are preparing for yesterday's war. In Ukraine and Israel, battlefield innovation happens within the operations, within weeks, within days. Speed is today not administrative efficiency, it is battlefield relevance. So, how will the Indian Army of, say, 2032 look like? If we align our doctrine, technology, and institutional reforms correctly, the Indian Army of the next decade will look very different. We might have combat groups with organic drones, cyber, and spectrum capabilities, soldiers operating within integrated combat networks, decisions assisted by intelligence systems but anchored in human judgment, predictive logistics sustaining operations across all terrains, and indigenous technologies providing operational sovereignty. In the decade ahead, dominance will not belong to the largest force. It will belong to the force which is most adaptive. Let me leave you with my final thoughts. Emerging technology, gentlemen, will not be judged by their novelty. They'll be judged by the reliability under stress. Do they work under fire? Do these technology function under denial? Do they simplify the fight for the soldier at the tactical edge? If the answer to all these questions is yes, then they become combat power. If they do not, then they remain demonstrations and only subject of discussion in such seminars. And that ultimately is what defense dominance truly means. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jan Sabherwal. And what stood out for me was that procurement in real time is very, very important. In case it does not, and the smaller organizations can procure it much faster, whereas the bigger armies find it difficult. I'm sure this is what is going to be covered in the special talk by Jan God. I would now turn to Marshal Bedi for giving us the perspective on emerging technologies that are likely to shape the air war of the future.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A lot has been said about technology and the common or popular technologies which are on on every tongue these days. So my endeavor will be to bring in slightly new perspective or say a few things which may be new to hear. To begin with, we have talked of different technologies, but what is their purpose? And I'm a great fan of, one saying or one quote, which originated way back in 2002 in the United States. The then Chief of Air Staff, General John Jumper, was being briefed about technology, something like in this setting, where everyone was bringing out that, this is new, this is new, this is what we are doing. And in the end, when he had to sum up, he said, he just made a line, and I quote, he said, "Sum of all wisdom is cursor over target," unquote, implying that ultimately a soldier who has to target, in a common language, that if I have to destroy a target, I have to put my cursor on that target. And if a particular technology does not help me in doing that, then it is of no use. Then it is only of academic value from defense, perspective point of view. What he meant was that anyone and everyone who's involved in targeting a particular objective should have the same information on his screen. Everyone must have the same picture. And what he was essentially alluding to is the networking kind of operations, which came up. And that led to a simple software which they named, after him, COT, cursor on target. Okay. And it led to intricate networking operations. What he wanted was to reduce sensor to shooter time. That means from the time or the moment you see something, how quickly can you target it? Now, in our context today, I mean, there are so many things which help in doing that, and one can carry on talking. But we will touch upon these important technologies which everyone has covered. General Mann brought out, Ms. Ranjana, and so General Sabherwal. Now, technologies become proliferated. It is affordable mass. What happens is that technology which earlier was available at very, very higher level in the probably command headquarters or in air headquarters or ops rooms is now available to a platoon commander in the field. So he has got an artillery gun which can shoot far off, which has got a radar. So it is no more an artillery gun in the field, it is also a potential signal emitter for a space asset to look at it and target it. So it works both ways. So while we build up capability, we also have to be careful that how do we guard it. When we come to quantum, because of two qualities of the photons of superposition and entanglement, it can do a lot of things. We talk of quantum radars, it can see stealth. We do quantum sensing, it can make out very, very small anomalies. And where do I use quantum sensor? Means it can do better things than my classical radars can do. It is not so much for the aircraft to be taken to target. Generally we think, because earlier the aircraft used to go to target to deliver ordnance. Now aircraft are not going over the target. Aircraft are 300 kilometers away. You've seen in Ops Sindoor, you have launched weapons with 300 kilometers of range or 250, 200 kilometers of range. So it is not to carry aircraft over the target, it is to carry weapon over the targets, because you have multi-million dollars missile which is going on IN GPS, and in the GPS denied environment, if that missile is going to be spoofed, then you have lost a lot of time and a lot of lot of money and a lot of tactical advantage. Communication is important. Quantum key distribution will bring you secure communication, because all the data that satellites are picking up, if it cannot be communicated to me in a secure fashion, then it is of no use. If someone is going to steal it or spoof it or jam it or corrupt it, then it of course is of no use. Quantum computing, of course, what classic computer can do in, they say, billions of years, quantum computer tomorrow will be able to do in a few hours. Now, where will it lead to? When we talk of AI, now AI, we say, is able to serve through large amount of data, and it says that what 2000 people could do in the ISR domain, 20 people can do now. And by Claude, AI, what they say that US was actually, AI is searching through the target folders, prioritizing targets, giving them even weapon to target matching, that which weapon to use against which target and when to use. That is the kind of proliferation of AI. And when it came to ethical use, that is why Anthropic decided to withdraw. And there is a different debate going on. But the point is, in Indian context, how does it become applicable now? If you want AI to do all this for you, what it is capable of doing, then it needs data. If I, as a commander, want to be told that which weapon to be used against which target, then how is it going to tell me unless it knows the data about those weapon systems? Now, are we ready? Is the military ready to feed in all the data of its weapon systems, of its radars, of its missiles, of its aircraft in a LLM model which is imported, which is not my homegrown, which is, which someone has got a back end access to? So we need to think of it that while we go ecstatic about AI capability, is the parallel capability going on to build up large, those LLMs for our homegrown applications on which I can use this kind of capability. Then, faster weapons. We are talking of things happening quickly. Hypersonics are emerging. We have made some progress in that, but still far away from where US and China has reached. What is hypersonics? You know what you have heard is Kinzhal missiles, and they are not classically hypersonic missiles. They fly at speed more than Mach 5, but every ballistic missile flies at a speed more than Mach 5. We are essentially talking of hypersonic cruise missiles, which carry their own engine, that is scramjet, supersonic combustion ramjet engine, which is still a little far away. We have tested air, application for about 20 seconds. The aim is to reach 1,000 seconds. Okay, so some 200 seconds ground test has been done. So we are far, but will not be very far. When the technology picks up, it will happen. So what it means is that a missile which can travel within the atmosphere at about 40 kilometers of height for 2,000 kilometers in under 15 minutes. Now, if this is the capability of my missile, which can go to 2000 kilometers in 15 minutes, but I take 3 hours to decide where to send it, then what is the use of developing that missile which can reach its target in 15 minutes? That means it has to be complemented by decision taking capability to be equally fast, which means all your integration of your quantum, your AI, your networking has to take place. All your ships in the sea, your aircraft in the sky, and tanks in the battlefield will be just expensive pieces of metal if they are not networked. If one weapon system does not know what the other weapon system is doing, and they are not networked properly, because challenges of network still remain even in the most advanced air force, which we are all going gaga how they are using AI. Still have a situation where a Kuwaiti F-18 shoots down US friendly three F-15s, not one, three of them, with two, cockpit occupied each crew. So these are the things where networking challenges will remain. And now, if you are not, fully equipped to exploit these things, it will remain a challenge. And what is going to network is cyber. Cyber has been spoken about, to a great deal. But if you don't, control your cyber, what is happening is quantum computers emergence will pose another challenge. That means it will be able to break your classic RSA based algorithms within no time. A RSA 2048, bit system or security says it will take you thousands or millions of years to break, but quantum computer will not take that much time. So what China is doing, harvest now, decrypt later kind of policy. All our systems, our weapon systems, our aircraft, or the war fighting machinery, you cannot change them every day. They have a life of 30 to 40 years. Some of them are not even on internet, so you cannot just put a software patch. Whatever software they carry, whatever capability they carry, is going to remain for some time. And if you do not secure it, and if it is it is leaked out and it is residing somewhere, your communication is residing somewhere, your thinking philosophy is residing somewhere, that sooner or later it will be used for cognitive warfare, or for a warfare which is of much dangerous dimensions. And the one capability of AI with quantum is that we generate intelligence today out of published work. Your AI powered by quantum will be able to have a look at the unpublished work. Invariably, lot of information what you actually were thinking, what commanders or the staff was thinking, is in deleted folders. It's not within a folder which is presented to the commander. It is all the homework or all the data which was being worked upon, which had many more details, but it is now lying in deleted folder somewhere. We think no one is seeing it, but all these tools will be able to see it if we do not secure our cyber, for which we need post quantum cryptography. And the sooner we wake up to that challenge, the better it is. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention.
So thank you so much, Air Marshal Bedi. And what I liked was a cursor on the target. Now that can only happen in case we absorb the technology, our soldiers understand it, we factor it in our strategy and in our operations, and also train for it. Right. So these are the issues which General Channan would cover. So may I invite you, General Channan?
Thank you very much, sir, and a very warm good afternoon to everybody present here. Uh, I have put on a few slides. Yeah, I think, yeah, this better. Thank you very much. So I guess there has been a lot of talk with people who are actually experts in the realm of defense technologies. Uh, I actually did a lot of my journey in the final few years of my career in the military, setting up a lot of new organizations, trying to create certain structures that would be enabling. And I walked out of service a very proud man. I still am. But today, barely 4 to 5 years out of service, I see the two generals who are holding such appointments, and I'm in total awe of them because technology has really changed the entire landscape. And what was, largely linear is now actually becoming so much of more intense. The mere velocity and the volume with which things are changing, I think we need to really commend the way we are adapting to moving forward. Talking about the various technologies, a lot has been said, so I will really shift focus from there and try and make a very easy mention as to why, how this entire Atmanirbhar system helped in the past, and why, where we stand today, we have a wonderful opportunity staring right at us in the face. Next, please. Can we change the slide? Can I do it from here? Yeah. So, gentlemen, this is 1939, just about 80, 85 years back, we are talking of. America was on the brink of collapse. We had that famous Black Friday. Everything seemed, the economy seemed to have been shattered. And this is 1929 to 1939. America was on the brink of economic collapse. And what happens? Suddenly, the World War comes about. America decides that they will start creating a defense industrial base. And you see the graphic, the way you see this. Actually, America joined the war only on 7th of December 1941, so that's almost 1942. And just see how the entire economy has changed since then. What is more important, not only has the economy changed, look at the defense landscape even as it stands today. These are the 8 countries that participated in the war. Some of them on one side, some on the other. But all of them actually were the primary participants of the last great war. Look at the total arms trade that is happening as we speak today. 93% of the trade is still happening with these 7 or 8 countries. So the kind of momentum, the kind of defense industrial complex that they set in 85, 87 years back is paying dividends right till date. Look at the top defense companies in the world and look at the flags. You will find most of them are part of this 7 or 8 companies. So investing in defense as a nation has very long term implications, very long term repercussions. It can probably put you into a leadership role which becomes unassailable. Years later, there are nobody who's even close to them in terms of revenues, in terms of uh, their reach and impact on warfare. But why I say we are at the cusp of a very, very interesting time? Because, gentlemen, all these companies, all this that I'm talking of, is largely from the industrial age war fighting, which essentially meant platforms with higher and better technologies. But I think with Corona and somewhere around that time, we closed this. So from World War I till about 2-3 years back, these are two ends of a bookend. And now we've entered a very interesting phase where symmetrical warfare is out of the window, multi-domain warfare, technologies have actually started dictating, and this is the opportunity where all this can be actually overtaken. Most of the talk that was spoken of, General Sabherwal gave a very interesting, and I've always been impressed. When I was in service, I would have many such events, and I would make sure, as my lucky mascot, I would always make sure that the opening lecture was always by Sir, because it used to set the tone very well. So, but most of the people have talked about incubating technology. So let me just shift a little and talk about innovation. Innovation really doesn't mean that you need to create new technologies. It is basically bundling them together and trying to make better, more efficient outcomes. Classically, that's the definition of innovation. It essentially must result in increase in market share, significant performance advantage, better quality, reduced cost, one of these 3 or 4 aims. Now, as far as defense innovation is concerned, I think today we are at a stage when we talk of, bringing new products on the field during the course of a battle. In the last 3 or 4 years, when Russia and Ukraine are locked in a military operation, you would have seen every 6 months, every 3 months, they are bringing new technologies, new kind of instruments onto the battlefield. So that is happening by a very, very quick and innovative system that is producing this. And they are capturing the entire drift of technology, creating it into products and putting it out onto the battlefield. So defense innovation, apart from all of that, must give a decisive strategic advantage. And of course, in our context or in any context in the world, it should also lead to self-reliance. As far as I thought somebody would cover this, ma'am, she has left, but she did mention in some way. A lot of what I'm now going to say has already been spoken by many speakers before me. Innovation is actually vital to any national security anywhere in the world. It actually improves the operational edge. Innovation actually gives you that ability to respond to evolving threats. naturally it has to have a disruptive or a force multiplier effect, and it should lead to long-term resilience of your forces, that which means that any innovation in whichever way that you look at should be able to take that product and keep it relevant over periodic time. Key areas already been discussed. I will not speak about that. One area which probably has not been spoken so much is the directed energy. Directed energy is probably now going to be the major area when you talk of drones, counter drones, and that kind of threats emerging. Directed energy is going to be a very, very major player. It has its challenges, and that is where a lot of thrust is happening. Hypersonic spectrum domination, again spoken of. Biotech and human augmentation. To some extent, yes, it has been mentioned, but certainly you remember the entire corona episode and beyond, we need to look at biotechnology also in a big way. It is in the unfolding world as it emerges, where these are becoming real challenges. Okay. The last point that I had is that there are certain barriers, and this which we are getting over. Number of initiatives have been launched, like IDEX, etc., which are so popular and doing so well. Those initiatives which the ADG, ADB spoke of. Finally, I will just close with this. I just wanted to say that anybody, be it in the government, in uniform, outside uniform, if you are contributing towards development of a technology, please understand it is for the national good. Here are 22 technologies that go into the iPhone. Each of these technologies has been funded by the US Department of Defense in some way or the other. And what has happened is Apple, a private company, has gone on to become one of the best companies in the world. So this is all part of nation building, and we need to take this forward. I will just quickly, because I'm running short of time, I will just finish here and we wait for the question answers after the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Channan. And what he said was that now we had an opportunity because those 8-10 companies were of a previous era when we fought a warfare in a different manner. And now we are going to have a technology intensive warfare in future. So therefore, India has an opportunity. And now, like I said in the beginning, that in case there is a technology lag, that would be a strategic vulnerability to us. So how do we now fast track our technological innovations and things like that? Reverse engineering may be one of the options, right? Likewise, having the semiconductors, which are actually the heart of the whole process, is another important thing. So I would now request Mr. Anshuman Tripathi to speak on these.
Thank you, General Saab. Thank you, Alt Media, Clause, for having me here on this stage. अब इतने बड़े बड़े लोगों ने बोल लिया, अब मैं क्या बोलूं? मैं आखिरी व्यक्ति हूं. काफी लोग तो ऑलरेडी चाय और कॉफी के बारे में सोच रहे हैं. हाँ, अब मैं रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग ही बोल सकता हूं क्योंकि फॉरवर्ड इंजीनियरिंग तो सब हो चुकी है. तो अब मैं इसको थोड़ा हायर लेवल पे लेता हूं और मैं कोशिश करूंगा कि हिंदी में ज़्यादा बोलूं जिसमें सब लोगों तक पहुंच सकूं. उसका एक और भी कारण है, मैं काफ़ी साल बाहर था, अंग्रेजी बोलूंगा तो एक्सेंट बदल जाएगा. ऊबर वाला भी 100 रुपये ज़्यादा मांग लेता है. तो हमने अभी टेक्नोलॉजीज के बारे में काफ़ी बात करी. साइंस और टेक्नोलॉजी में क्या फ़र्क होता है? एक डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी है. मैं दावे के साथ बोल सकता हूं कि वहां उस डीएसटी टेक्नोलॉजी या डिपार्टमेंट में भी काम करने वाले काफ़ी अधिकारियों से मैं पूछ लूं कि साइंस और टेक्नोलॉजी में क्या फर्क होता है तो चचा बता ना पाएंगे, काम कर गए पूरी जिंदगी वहां पे, बता ना पाएंगे। पर आजकल सर आप लोग के पास भी चैट जीपीटी है, हर उस चीज का उत्तर मिलता है जो कहीं और ना मिले। तो जब साइंटिफिक नॉलेज इज यूज टू सॉल्व अ रियल वर्ल्ड प्रॉब्लम, दैट नॉलेज इज कॉल्ड टेक्नोलॉजी. It could be new or it could be old. Its application could be new or the real world problem could be new, but the solution और जो उसमें लगे हैं पुर्जे वो पुराने हो सकते हैं. That is a possibility. But we need to know the difference between science and technology. बहुत ही लोगों को नहीं पता है. अधिकांश कॉलेज जो पढ़ाते हैं, चाहे वो आईआईटी ही क्यों ना हो, वो साइंस पढ़ा रहे हैं क्योंकि रियल वर्ल्ड से वो परे हैं. जब उनके छात्र पढ़ के बाहर निकल के उस कार्यक्रम को अंजाम देते हैं किसी प्रॉब्लम क्षेत्र में, उसे कहते हैं. नाउ लेट्स कम टू वॉरफेयर, क्योंकि हम वॉरफेयर की बात कर रहे हैं. वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 से लेके अभी तक सब कुछ डिस्कस हो गया. जिस कंपनी के लिए मैं काम करता था उसकी, मेरे प्राइम कंप्यूटर का नाम भी जनरल चानन साहब ने ले लिया, बूज एलन एंड हैमिल्टन. तो अब मैं क्या बताऊं, पर अगर आप थिएटर ऑफ वॉर देखें, वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 से लेके अभी तक क्या क्या चेंज हुआ है. वॉरक्राफ्ट की एफिशिएंसी बढ़ गई है. आपका कोलैटरल डैमेज जो होता है, जो मतलब जो आप नहीं चाहते हुए भी डैमेज होता है, उसकी लेवल बहुत गिर गया है. एक अभी स्टैटिस्टिक आई थी थोड़े दिन पहले कि वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 में एक यूनिफॉर्म ऑफिसर की कैजुअलिटी पे 7 या 8 सिविलियंस की भी कैजुअलिटी होती थी. आज की तारीख में वो नंबर बदल चुका है. दैट नंबर हैज एक्चुअली चेंज्ड. व्हाट हैज कॉज्ड दिस चेंज? The change is because we have got our warfare implements have become more precise. Precision बढ़ गया है. Precision बढ़ गया मतलब कि जो रण क्षेत्र है, जो थिएटर ऑफ वॉर है, उसमें हमारी अंडरस्टैंडिंग जो है उसको हम ज्यादा बेटर समझते हैं और उसको हमारे पास बेटर प्रिसाइज तरीके हैं इफेक्ट करने के लिए. और इस सारी चीजों के लिए खाली एक ही चीज लगी है, खाली एक ही चीज, फंडामेंटल टेक्नोलॉजी, और उसका नाम है सेमीकंडक्टर्स. और इस मौके पे मैं बड़े आराम से कह सकता हूं, इसीलिए मैं सेमीकंडक्टर में काम करता हूं. ये सत्य नहीं होगा. मैंने शुरू करा था कि सेमीकंडक्टर्स में नौकरी आसानी से मिलती थी जब मैं इंजीनियरिंग खत्म कर रहा था, और मैंने अपना करियर सेमीकंडक्टर्स में दुनिया भर में बनाया. पर सेमीकंडक्टर्स वो सेंसर बनाते हैं जिसको लेके रण क्षेत्र का थिएटर ऑफ वॉर की हम अंडरस्टैंडिंग करते हैं कि नाइट विजन गॉगल्स है कि आपका एडवर्सरी कहाँ है. वो जो सेंसर है वो इंडियम गैलियम आर्सेनाइड पे बेस्ड है. आपके जो रेडार्स हैं वो भी गैलियम आर्सेनाइड चलते हैं. तो इसलिए सारी चीज सेमीकंडक्टर्स पे होती है. तो हम एक फंडामेंटल टेक्नोलॉजी है. आज की तारीख में अगर हम आए, जो इजराइल और ईरान की लड़ाई चल रही है इसमें, तो इसमें सबसे ज्यादा आतंक फैलाया है शाहिद ड्रोन ने. शायद 136 उसका नाम है, और वो ड्रोन ने इतना बेहतरीन काम किया है. पर आपको जान के अजूबा लगेगा कि जब शाहिद ड्रोन बनाने का काम आया तो ईरान के पास सैंक्शंस थे अमेरिका की तरफ से, तो उनको मिलिट्री ग्रेड टेक्नोलॉजीज नहीं मिल रही थी. तो उन्होंने सिविलियन ग्रेड टेक्नोलॉजीज लेके एक ये ड्रोन बनाया जिसमें जो मोटर है वो भी मोपेड की मोटर लगी है, और जो फ्लाइट कंट्रोलर लगे हैं वो भी सिविलियन ग्रेड है, जो बच्चे हमारे यहाँ पे कॉलेजेस में उड़ाते हैं. तो इन सबको लगा के उन्होंने तैयार किया जो ड्रोन, उसने इतना आतंक फैला दिया सबके लिए. और वो सस्ता भी है, $10,000-20,000 का आता है. उसके बाद जब वो बन गया तो अमेरिका ने कहा यार हमारी तो इतनी कंपनियां जो भी जनरल साहब ने दिखाई दी तो खड़ी के खड़ी रह गई, और ये लोग तो आगे निकल गए सिविलियन ग्रेड लेके. क्यों? क्योंकि आज की तारीख में सिविलियन ग्रेड टेक्नोलॉजीज मिलिट्री ग्रेड टेक्नोलॉजी से कहीं आगे निकल गई है. इसलिए अब सिविलियन ग्रेड टेक्नोलॉजीज को मिलिट्री में लाया जा रहा है. जो DIU का प्रोग्राम था वगैरह, और अपने अपने सारे प्रोग्राम में, IDEX वगैरह में, अब उसी का यूज किया जा रहा है कि भाई जो लोग एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप बाहर कर रहे हैं वो मिलिट्री में भी करें हमारे साथ. तो अब आप देखिए कि जब उस ड्रोन को अमेरिका के हाथ लगा तो उन्होंने कहा यार ये हम भी बना लें, सस्ते पड़ रहे हैं. तो उन्होंने उसकी रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग करी. अब वो रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग करके जो उन्होंने बनाया तब भी वो उतना महंगा सस्ता नहीं पड़ा जितना ईरान का था. पर ईरान ने जो बनाया उसमें जो फ्लाइट कंट्रोल लगता है, उसमें जो चिप लगती है वो ST माइक्रो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स की, जो मेरे पुराने एम्प्लॉयर हुआ करते थे, जिसे मैंने अपनी करियर शुरू किया था. तो वो जो चिप लगी हुई है उसमें, वो भी कई देशों में बैंड है क्योंकि वो यूरोपियन चिप है और अमेरिका और यूरोप ने चाइना वगैरह को देने से मना करा हुआ है। तो चाइना ने क्या किया, जो चिप यूरोप चाह रही थी उसकी पिन टू पिन कॉपी कर ली। तो अब 10 कंपनियां हैं जो चाइना में वो यूरोपियन चिप की कॉपी बना रही हैं, और वो बना भी रही हैं और वो सस्ती भी हैं। तो अगर हम कल चाहें तो अमेरिका वाले कहें कि साहब हम ये चिप नहीं देंगे ईरान को जिससे कि वो शाही ड्रोन ना बना पाए, कोई बात नहीं, हम तो चाइना से ले लेंगे, तो चाइना को और भी सस्ता पड़ जाएगा। तो मतलब आज की तारीख में जो शाही ड्रोन जितने का बिक रहा है उससे भी सस्ता पड़ जाएगा अगर अमेरिका ईरान पे और सैंक्शंस लगा दे। तो ये हो गई रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग। आज की तारीख में मैं कई लोगों के पास जाऊं कहूं कि रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग कर लो तो हाय राम सर क्या बात कर दी सर, हम फंस जाएंगे सर, कोर्ट केस हो जाएगा हमारे। अरे भैया, यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका के कोर्ट ने अपनी वर्डिक्ट में रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग की डेफिनेशन दी है। आप गूगल कर सकते हैं, चैट जीपीटी कर सकते हैं। और उन्होंने ये भी कहा है एक और वर्डिक्ट में कि रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग इज द लाइफ ब्लड ऑफ अ कंपेटिटिव इकोनॉमी। पर हमारे देशभक्त जो हैं कई, मैं कोई नाम नहीं लूंगा, यहाँ पे बैठा हूँ और बहुत से रिस्पेक्टेड सीनियर लोग बैठे हैं, मेरे दोनों फेवरेट जनरल्स नीचे बैठे हुए हैं। हाँ, तो मैं इनके सामने यही कहना ही कहूँगा कि जो हमारी टेक्नोलॉजीज हैं उनको हमको रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग की तरफ ज़्यादा करना चाहिए। पर बहुत सी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो कहती है नहीं सर हम तो क्लीन चिट टेक्नोलॉजी शुरू करें, क्लीन शीट क्लीन स्लेट से शुरू करेंगे, यार वो तो फिर बनाने में बहुत टाइम लग जाएगा यार। आज की तारीख में जेट इंजन का अगर हम एग्जाम्पल लें तो उसमें भी हमारी टेक्नोलॉजी, हर वर्ल्ड में री इंजीनियरिंग से जेट इंजन बनता है। मतलब जो जेट इंजन बन चुका है उसको फिर अपग्रेड कर करके नया इंजन बनते हैं, तो उसको हम री इंजीनियरिंग कहते हैं। रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग से एक लेवल आगे हमारा अपना इंजन है, उसी को हम री इंजन कर रहे हैं। जो M88 है जो भी रफाल में लगा है वो भी री इंजीनियरिंग से बना है। इनफैक्ट जीई जिनसे हम बात कर रहे हैं, जीई की अगर वेबसाइट पर चले जाएं तो उन्होंने खुद लिखा है कि हमने जो पहला इंजन बनाया था वो जो ग्रुप था वो उनको कहते थे हश हश बॉयज, उन्होंने चोरी छुपे छिप चाप तरीके से रोल्स रॉयस के इंजन को कॉपी करके मास प्रोड्यूस किया है और उनका इंटरव्यू लगा हुआ है। और हमारे यहाँ हमारे जो रिस्पेक्टेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस काम कर रहे हैं उनको इसमें देखना चाहिए कि रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग से हम क्या क्या कर सकते हैं। बहुत कुछ कर सकते हैं, लीगली पॉसिबल है। और वो क्या नहीं साहब नहीं होता है, तो मैं उनसे बहुत रिक्वेस्ट पूर्वक कहूंगा सॉफ्टली कि पूरी हिंदुस्तान की फार्मास्यूटिकल इंडस्ट्री खड़ी हुई है। आज की तारीख में मोटापा कम करने की जो ड्रग है जो महंगी आती है, जो उसको मैं बहुत दिनों से देख रहा हूँ, वो उसका पैटेंट खत्म होने वाला है अगले महीने। अब मेरी आशा है कि वो सस्ती मिलने लगेगी तो मैं भी उसको इस्तेमाल करूंगा। तो इसलिए मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूँ कि आज की तारीख में प्रिसिशन के रूप में मैंने आपको शाहिद के बारे में बताया। अब दूसरा टेक्नोलॉजी का एग्जाम्पल लेता हूँ कि अमेरिका ने ईरान पे किया और खमेनी साहब को बिल्कुल पिन पॉइंटेड नजर से निकाला। उसके कुछ स्टैंडर्ड तरीके भी यूज किए थे, आरएन सेंसर है यहाँ पे, तो ओल्ड स्कूल मेथड्स भी यूज किए गए। सर आप फोन देख रहे तो मेरे को लगा कि मैं आपका आकर्षण थोड़े अपनी तरफ खींच लूं। तो जो जो टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करी गई थी उनके अलावा कंप्यूटर की भी टेक्नोलॉजी जो यूज करी गई, उसमें एक बड़ा बड़ा नाम है जो बहुतों को नहीं पता होगा, उसका नाम है पैलेंटियर। पैलेंटियर एक कंपनी है जो आईटी में काम करती है, पर खाली फौज के लिए खासकर उन्होंने शुरू किया था काम। उनकी फर्स्ट फंडिंग जो है वो सीआईए ने करी थी अपनी फंडिंग आर्म इनक्यूटेल के थ्रू। और जो पैलेंटियर कंपनी जो टेक्नोलॉजी बनाती है, वो उसकी सबसे बड़ी बात है कि वो अलग अलग वैरायटी के डेटा को उठा लेती है। आपका सोशल मीडिया, फेसबुक अकाउंट, आपका ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस हिस्ट्री, आपने गाड़ी का चालान कहाँ हुआ था वहां से लेके आपने व्हाट्सएप में अगर कुछ लीक हो गया तो वो, और न्यूज़पेपर में वो सबको इकट्ठा करके एक एक्शनेबल इंटेलिजेंस देती है। और वो एक्शनेबल इंटेलिजेंस जो पैलेंटियर की है वो किस पे खड़ी होती है? वो लार्ज लैंग्वेज मॉडल्स पे खड़ी होती है, एआई की, जो खड़े होते हैं एनवीडिया की चिप पे। वो एनवीडिया की चिप बनती है किससे? सेमीकंडक्टर से, जो मेरा धंधा पानी था। तो इसलिए आप इसको मैं बताना चाहता हूं कि पैलेंटियर की टेक्नोलॉजी और शाहिद ड्रोन्स की टेक्नोलॉजीज वगैरह ये सब सिविलियन ग्रेड टेक्नोलॉजी से लाई गई हैं। और मेरी अपनी कॉन्फिडेंस है कि आगे भी बहुत सी वो टेक्नोलॉजीज को लाया जाएगा। आप लोग जिस एरिया में काम कर रहे हैं उनमें आप लोगों का हिंदुस्तानी सेना के साथ काफ़ी ज़्यादा इंटरेक्शन होगा। और प्लीज़ लेजी तरीके से ना काम करें कि बनाते हैं नई टेक्नोलॉजी, जो बन चुकी है उनको लेके रिवर्स इंजीनियर किया जाए, वो लीगली अलाउड है। और अगर आपको इसके बारे में ज्यादा बातचीत करनी हो तो चाय पे मैं आपके साथ बिल्कुल तत्पर रहूंगा बात करने के लिए, क्योंकि जनरल साहब मुझे देख चुके हैं 2 बार, तो इससे मुझे इजाजत दीजिए। नमस्कार, थैंक यू, जय हिंद।
Thank you, Mr. Tripathi, for that excellent thought on reverse engineering. And let me say, जो हम लोग यहाँ पे आर्मी से बैठे हुए हैं, कि ये एक आर्ट थी जो कि पंजाब में बहुत ज्यादा चलती थी। और जब भी हम लोग कोई अपना हथियार का कोई पुर्जा या कुछ खो जाता था, बिकॉज वो बड़ा स्ट्रिक्ट एक्शन होता था उस पर, हम लोग लुधियाना जाते थे, हु बहू उससे भी अच्छा लेके आ जाते थे। सो दिस आर्ट हैज बीन देयर इन इंडिया, एंड आई एम श्योर जो यंगस्टर्स यहाँ पे बैठे हुए हैं उनको और ये रीइंफोर्स हो गया होगा, and we should get into this because this is something which will give us lead in a shorter time. Now with that, I would just open the session for 1 or 2 questions because हम लोग के पास अभी टाइम नहीं है। Yes, करण चौधरी।
मेरा प्रश्न जो है बड़ा सिंपल सा है।
किससे है पहली बात तो?
सभी प्रमुख
ओके।
जनरल मान जब बोल रहे थे, मेरा सेम प्रश्न वही था और मैंने इसे लिख के वो प्रश्न का उत्तर चाहा। बच्ची मेरे प्रश्न तो शायद समझ नहीं पाई होगी। मेरा प्रश्न ये है सर कि जितने लोग बैठे हैं यहाँ पर, जैसे अंशुमन जी बैठे हैं, इन्होंने बात की है टेक्नोलॉजी की। सर मैं ये कहता हूँ कि यहाँ पर वो केवल 15 थिंक टैंक से 15 यूनिवर्सिटीज नहीं है। इस देश की 150 करोड़ की जनता है और 150 करोड़ दिमाग काम कर रहे हैं। एक कॉमन ईमेल आईडी दीजिएगा। अंशुमन जी जैसे आप अगर दे सकते हैं आईडी, वो दे दीजिए। बच्चा बच्चा हमसे पूछता है कि सर हम इस बात का चर्चा किससे करें। ऑर्डिनेंस वाला हूँ, स्टोरेज अकोमोडेशन के बारे में लोग मुझसे लिखते हैं, पर मैं किसकी बात करूं? मैंने अप्रोच किया डीआरडीओ को, टीबीआरएल को, टेस्ट की कि ये बड़ी लंबी चीज है, लेकिन आप जैसे लोग जो बैठे हैं, एक कॉमन आईडी दीजिए। जनरल मान ने मुझे एक आईडी बता दी, लोगों को बता दूंगा। वैसे ही आपसे दरखास्त करूंगा, एक आईडी आप बताइए, पब्लिसाइज कीजिए हम जैसों के माध्यम से, जिससे आम जनता सीख सके। वो ईमेल लिखे, आपके पास में 50,000 स्पैम आएंगे, लेकिन एक काम की ईमेल आएगी, उसको छाटिए और उसमें काम। ये मेरा सजेशन है।
Right, thank you. So I'm sure both the journalists sitting here, they would take this, and anyone else, and that would be the last question. Right? Okay. Okay.
मान की बात को काटूंगा यहाँ पर, जैसे क्लॉज अपडेट कर रही है ये एक क्लॉज, एक सिंपल ईमेल आईडी जीमेल का बना दें और हर आदमी तो क्लॉज टेक्स इनिशिएटिव की हम लेंगे इस चीज को एंड
For
लेट्स
sure.
पास इट ऑन।
For sure. So thank you very much. And all that remains for me is to thank all the panelists for their excellent and outstanding remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our moderator and thank you to our panelists here. I now request DG Claus to kindly join us back on stage and felicitate our speakers of session 2. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause for our speakers of session 2, please. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we close our session 2. Thank you very much, sir. We now move on to the final session of the conference. A group photograph before we begin. Thank you very much, sir. Sir. Vineet, go ahead, take it.